Welcome to the 10th edition of the Wage Roundtable series on complex inequalities and regional perspectives summer school in East Greenland, student experiences and learnings, which was organized by CASE's 2025 summer school participants, Jean Kaplan, Franz Pedersen, Hansinier Broberg, Jenica Kirkland, Muriel Pichoir, and Vila Bukala. We are pleased to have the opportunity to have these discussions with you all. Thank you for being here. Hansinier and Jean will be our facilitators today, and I will pass the floor to them.
Hi everyone, welcome to everyone. I am Hansina. I am co-host of this roundtable, so we are pleased to present this roundtable. I am a lecturer and I am doing a PhD program. I started about 4 months ago. I come from Northwest Greenland and now I'm living in Nuuk, where I work at the university. It is Tasiilaq of Nuuk, University of Nunaat, Greenland. Before we begin, I'd like to remind our panelists to introduce themselves, about your name, your field of study, where you're from, and why you wanted to attend the summer school. So we started with Audrey Ching, and after that, my co-host will show the slide with everyone's name and will also explain the order of speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Hansina. So my name is Audrey Jeanne. I'm a master's student in criminology at Université de Montréal, Montreal University in Quebec, Canada. I have a bachelor in law and my master's right now is on self-determination rights for Indigenous people in criminal law. So the possibility for communities in Quebec to have their own justice system parallel from the state criminal system. I'll pass the speaking stick to Jenica.
Hi, my name's Jenica Kirkland. I'm doing my Master's of Arts in International Studies at the University of Northern British Columbia, which is in Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, and my research focuses on Indigenous reindeer herders, specifically Sami and Nenets, in communities that have liquefied natural gas projects going on. I'll pass it over to Viola.
Thank you, Jenica. So I'm Viola Ukkola. I'm a reindeer herder from north of Finland, from Sodankylä. And I'm currently finishing my master's studies in the Arctic world politics and writing a thesis about the intergenerational impacts of reservoir buildings in north of Finland. Thank you, and I will pass the mic to Franz.
Hi, my name is Franz Heilmann Petersen. I'm from Greenland, and I'm studying a Bachelor's of Arts of Linguistics, Literature, and Media. And I'm very interested in dialects all over Greenland. And I'm passing to Muriel.
Hey everyone, excuse me. So I'm Muriel Pichoir. I'm a PhD student in geography at Université Laval in Quebec, which I call my home. I was looking forward to participate at the CASE school in Greenland because Nuuk has a port that I have in my project, which is on maritime transport hub projects for Arctic transit. So I'll pass the word at Hansina or Audrey Jeanne.
Yeah, I'll take it back. Thank you, Muriel. Thank you, everyone, for introducing themselves. So before we start, the plan that we had today was to present a little bit more about the trip that we had, the summer school. So situate Greenland on the map and explain why we went to Greenland, why we went to East Greenland specifically. and Ansinia will explain a little bit about the travel, the itinerary that we had, and the issues that come with it. And then we will explore a little bit more about our experiences, learning, and reflection that will be presented by different people in our panel. And then we'll open a series of period of questions so everyone can participate.
Thank you, everyone. And if you show the slide 3, you can see where we have been. The right picture is East Greenland, and the left picture is the whole Greenland. So just you know. I want to highlight the travel times between the places we visited, because the distance and access are very important in regional perspectives. So from Kulusuk to Tasiilaq, as you can see in the right, it's about 1 hour with boat and 5 to 10 hours, no, not hours, 5 to 10 minutes with helicopter. So Tasiilaq has no airport and no roads, so transport is limited. And we were in Tasiilaq for about 9 days, and 1 day in Kulusuk and 1 day in Tasiilaq. And I will explain it. From Tasiilaq, we go to Tasiilaq, which is East Greenlandic dialect, and Inequalities in West Greenlandic dialect. We were in Tasiilaq for 1 day, so it's about 2.5 hours by boat. These distances help illustrate the complexity of moving between communities and East Greenland. So the population size in Tasiilaq or Inequalities as you call it, they are about 90 people, and in Tasiilaq there are over 1,800 people who lives there, and in Nuuk we are about 19,000, over than that. So if we go to the slide 4, we have prepared this roundtable. We met and discussed the topics together. We saw that everyone have common opinions about experience and perspectives. So each slide, it's where the panelists can add about their own experiences, examples, and reflection and learnings. So the structure covers is in experience, learning, and reflection, and the last thing is one word closing. So if we go to the 5, this is where we have been traveling, and you can see that we have been from Nuuk to Tasiilaq to Tasiilaq. It's Inequalities in the right words, in West Greenlandic, and to Kulusuk and then to Nuuk again. But we didn't start in Nuuk, we start in Kulusuk. So it's Nuuk, Kulusuk, Tasiilaq, Tasiilaq, Kulusuk, and Nuuk. Long trip. Let's move to the next slide. Long trip, but fun and good experience. Yes. So if we go to the overview about tropics, it's about, as I say, experience, learning, and reflection. Feel free to add your own voice, your story, or what stood out to you. And now let's move to the first reflection. So, Franz, you can now talk about the experience. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Thank you, Francine. We each panelists are going to talk about our personal and practical experiences from the trip and observations from daily life, local communities, and travel conditions about our trip to East Greenland and our interactions with fishermen, hunters, and residents. I'm passing it to Viola.
Thank you. So I think it's a difficult job to sum up the experience that we had, because the whole trip it lasted, I think it was 16 days. So over the 16 days, we saw and experienced, I think, so many different things. And I'm pretty sure everyone had their own perspective and own way of looking at these things. But I do think it was great that we stayed. I think it was 9 days that we stayed in the Tasiilaq. That during that time, you don't only get like a small surface scratch, but you can actually see how days are different. And in every day, we learned something new, we heard something new, we visited different people and heard different stories. I think maybe Jenica can add something to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola. Yeah, for me, this experience was very eye-opening. I had heard a little bit about East Greenland, but I wasn't super up to date on the current issues facing communities such as Tasiilaq. And getting to listen to the different groups of people in East Greenland, the locals, the youth, the elders, hunters, fishers, as well as the academics, the professors that were our mentors, was really important to learn what's actually happening on the ground in East Greenland rather than the global narratives about East Greenland. And it was also really excellent to connect with like-minded students and academics who were also interested in this topic. I'll pass it to the next person.
I can take the mic. Thank you, Jenica. I think I'll jump on what you said about connecting with fellow student researchers and fellow experienced professors, and that's an opportunity that we don't get very often to be able to exchange different topics. Everybody on the trip had different preferred domains of social science, and to be able to connect and talk about those different areas was very, very interesting. It's a unique opportunity that we don't have very often in the academic world. And I think that that connected a lot with different students too. And I think maybe if Muriel wanted to add on that, I think that also connected with her experience.
Yes, of course, I agree with everything everybody said. So that was a bit of a challenge for this roundtable, is to be able to add to this. But what I'll do is that I wanted to underline the generosity of the people we've met in the community, and also generosity within the group, mentors and students. I think one of the key success of this trip was the state of confidence people had, which made the experience really nice, and that it was a safe place to exchange for everyone, and with a lot of respect. It made a huge difference, I think, and it really contributed to the success of this amazing one life experience. So that was one thing. It's also for the experience, the importance of field work. We never really can measure the experience of going on the field or meeting people before you really do it. Once you realize this, it's there. You need to learn so much. You need to smell, you need to see, you need to hear. You can't only read. So I think that's a huge part also that was given to us, a chance to be able to do that, because we had some reading to do prior to the trip, which was very helpful. But once you're there and you reread the material that they give you. You read in a different way and you understand in different ways. And I think that's very important too. So I forgot who didn't talk. I don't know. Maybe someone wants to add something to this. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll pass the talking stick to Ansigne. She hasn't talked yet.
Yes, thank you. My experience in this is I was experiencing the events where I meet passionate and participants from different countries, and we exchange ideas and about Arctic research and share our experiences and different perspectives. So it was amazing. And the atmosphere, how do you say it, was both intellectually stimulating and personally rewarding. It was amazing. And Franz, you can take over. Maybe you can explain a little bit about the pictures, what we can see here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. The picture you can see on the right side and lower, it's a meat of polar bear. I've tried it before in West Greenland, but long time ago. So when we were in East Greenland, it is a very touching experience that we locals also wanted us to try local food. Polar bear is on the right side, and on left it is blubber, whale blubber. We call it meddick, and we are very proud of this exact food, meddick. And on the upside, on right, you can see a drum dancing in Greenlandic. We were welcomed by the local community by drum dancing for us. It was very lovely to arrive to East Greenland and welcomed by the local like that. And these cute puppies, Greenlandic sledge-dog puppies. Thank you.
Thank you. So we can now go to the next one, which is learning. So let the people start talking about their learning experience.
Yeah, so I'll introduce this topic quickly and then we will have everyone's perspectives. Some of the key themes highlighted was the academic, cultural, and regional insights, including learning more about social science methods and theories of equality, and also the actual community we learned about. So Tasiilaq, we talked a lot about regional development, hunting, fishing, tourism, planning, and the perceptions of inequality. And in Nuuk, we talked about the municipal administration, which also covers East Greenland, the political organization, the distribution of power and decision making. And as I already stated, there was an emphasis on theoretical approaches, methodology, and societal context. For me, it was super interesting to watch everyone hear from the different academic backgrounds, talk, discuss, ask questions. I want to pass it over to Franz first because unexpectedly he had to translate for us for a large portion of the trip. And as a linguistic student, I'm sure that was both a challenge but very rewarding.
Thank you, Jenica. Yeah, it was very unexpected that I had to be a translator. I arrived to East Greenland just to observe and be a student, but turns out I have to translate. But it turns out really good. I think it helped me. Not everybody in West Greenland can talk East Greenlandic. It's very different dialect. We could even call it different language. So I was very, it was very sudden, but I learned that I could also translate from East Greenlandic to English. So yeah, I also learned how inequalities are connected to local histories and global systems. and the lectures and fieldwork show me how theory and practice can support community development. Yes, I pass it to the next person.
Yes, thank you. For me, I learned that how interdisciplinary collaboration can deepen our understanding of Arctic society. So it was a pleasure to go to the East Greenland and see it for myself, because I have never been in East Greenland before, even though I am from Greenland, Nunaat. And the discussions showed how theory and practice can complete each other. And I also gained new methodological insight for my own research in media in Nunaat, Greenland. So after that, I will pass this to Maria.
Yes, thank you, Hansiga. To add to what was said, besides the very amazing talent Hans had to translate, I have to say, thank you again for being our translator. It was important because all the complexity of inequalities or complex inequalities, the complexity of it is to find exactly what makes it difficult or what makes it complex. It's to understand. And often it's in details, but important details. As for an example, we've learned that, and I'm sorry, my Greenlandic is not good, so I won't be able to say, but help me please if my fellows from Greenland. It was interesting to see how it was organized in for the administration, for the municipality, that Tasiilaq and Nuuk are actually in the same municipality for administration, but they're about 700 kilometers apart. And once you see that on paper, you ask yourself questions and you wonder how it's lived on the field and in the different communities. And then it's when you talk with the people that you realize this kind of decision can have a huge impact on a community like Tasiilaq and its development. So that's, I'm just giving one example, but you can't really get the perspective of it without having this kind of discussions with people. And that's what I really brought back with me coming from Greenland, to have those, they have to be able to have a very good relationship with the trust, to be able to have the good communications and the good information that can be given to you. For that, you have to have good questions, but you also have to have someone that is willing to talk about it. So the perspective and the representation of all the actors are really important, and that's what I really learned, came back with. The issues also related to the capacity, intern and external, to the communities are some elements that really helped me better understand the complexity of the inequalities that they could live. The capacity is a huge factor also for us to be able to understand those differences. And I was also very interested to see the difficult decisions and resilience the community had to face, and the impact on their future and the uncertainty. That's something else that kind of, we've learned a lot of it, but every time we talk to someone, I feel that they answered a lot of our questions, but we always had more questions to ask. So that's another thing, it's never ending. So I'll pass the stick to Viola.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot of good things about the things we've learned has been said. What especially resonates with me is that how during the summer school we learn by many things. We learn first by reading articles, but then we add something into that when we heard our mentors to give us lectures, and then we got more depth into that by seeing and experiencing the lived reality in East Greenland. But I think also something I would add to what has not yet been said about learning is that I do also think that during this summer school, we learned something about ourselves and learned about what are we best at, how do we act in a group, how do we act under pressure or when we're tired. I think something that maybe taught something about ourselves and our own resilience was that every day we, or at least most of our students, we had to walk quite long distances in Tasiilaq. And I can say that the way of walking there, it's not what you're used to. There are a lot of steep hills that we had to sort of climb up and climb down every day, sometimes multiple times. And at the same time, we went and listened to a lecture, or we went and met local municipality stakeholders. We met some entrepreneurs, and we had to try to learn and take into all the things they said, and at the same time try to just get through the walking the steep hills and reflect during that time. So I think that's something important to note, that during this kind of summer school, you also learn about the way you yourself act and the way you do research as well. Thank you. And I think I'll pass it on now.
Thank you, Viola. I think the walking up and down the hills has been an experience for all of us. I think we were not entirely prepared to how much we were going to walk on that trip, but it was very, very good for our health. But I think it brought a lot of reflection to the mobility in Tasiilaq and how people manage walking up and down the hills every day, multiple times a day. And most people over there did not have cars, so a lot of them were walking, and it seemed like we were exhausted, but everybody else was fine. So that also is very humbling, I think, for a lot of us who did not have the cardio to keep up. But I think also reflecting on what was said about the policies and the contrast between what we saw in Tasiilaq about the micro issues that were part of the municipality and the issues that we met with people that talked to us about a lot of major issues for them that were micro. And then we went to Nuuk and learned a lot about macro issues that were very much bigger, and the contrast, and to see how major decisions and major policies have impact that might be considered tiny, but are everyday life problems for a lot of people. And I think that reflects a lot when we think about academic research too, where we are always in big theories and we do big research, and these research have concrete impacts on the livelihoods of communities and how people live in day to day. And I think as young students who are still figuring out research and still evolving in the world of research, I think it's very important to replace ourselves back to how impactful small decisions can be on communities, and how how a small decision for us can become a major decision for others in communities where we do not live. And I think that was very humbling, and it necessitated to challenge a little bit our academic worldviews. And I think that was very important. And I think that on that, we can go to the next one, which is the reflection. And we can start a bit contrast a little bit about what we had in the experience. So
yeah, I think I can start with it. So I think maybe one of the most important reflection that I at least have on the summer school is that how we saw that everything is localized, that different things play out differently in different places. So circumstances and realities, they are very different locally. So as we heard before, that Nuuk and Tasiilaq are in the same municipality, but the lived realities in both of them are completely different. Or the lived reality in Tasiilaq compared to Tasiilaq, they differ from each other, even though there might be still a lot of the similar issues and problems and hopes. Still, there are some differences. And I think at least something that I looked at throughout the summer school was the similarities and differences across the Arctic. How do these things that we saw in East Greenland, how do they reflect the things I've seen in the north of Finland? I think the conclusion I had was that many of the issues are the same. I think across the Arctic, there are struggles with alcoholism, lack of opportunities, no lack of access to different services, long distances, remoteness, all of these things. Even though a lot of these issues are the same, they play out somehow differently. And also the way those different issues, problems are fought against, they are in some places different. And I think what was sort of beautiful, we saw in Tasiilaq, or we heard a lot about different social problems and issues, but something that I at least feel that we saw there was hope. There was hope for a better future. There was hope for resolving all those problems and issues that were now heightened when we were there. So, yeah, I think it is always important to consider different locations and the local perspectives. And that should also always be part of research as well, I think. And there is definitely always the need for research that regards the different experiences and perspectives and realities in different places. But something that I also thought in during this trip that maybe often research in Greenland and in East Greenland, there is a high concentration on the difficulties and problems, issues that there are, which are of course important. It's very important to look at those and the sort of what is behind of that all. But I do think that maybe sometimes the community resilience might be overlooked. And I think I'm very happy that we got to see really that community resilience in East Greenland. And it's not just a place that is covered in inequalities. It's a place where there is a lot of hope and a lot of resilience. And I can pass the mic on now.
I'd like to just build off what Viola was saying with a small anecdote from my trip. One of the first couple days we arrived, I was calling my mom. I was telling her what we are learning in our lectures, the challenges facing Tasiilaq, the alcoholism, the harsh climate and landscape, the high suicide rates, the lack of job opportunities. And she asked me, why would anyone want to live in East Greenland if life is so hard there? And I said, I don't know. But by the end of the trip, I think I had an answer. So I called her back and I said, Mom, it's beautiful here. The community is so resilient. The landscape is stunning. Even though there's no trees, it's harsh. There's strong winds that can damage houses. It's so beautiful here. There's ice floating in the fjord, and the sun is beautiful over the landscape, and there's beautiful mountains in the background, and the sense of community and the solidarity between the community members is so powerful. I remember we all went to go see some local music at the bar, and they had just welcomed us to the community, even though we'd only been there 5 days, and were just pulling us onto the dance floor and teaching us how to swing dance. And this sense of community was so powerful and so strong despite all the challenges. And it really made me understand, yeah, this is an incredible place to live despite all the challenges. No wonder so many people want to stay and make the community better. And with that, I'll pass it on.
Maybe I can take over. Just just to add to that, we can't fully understand the difficult decision that young people need to have to take if they want to pursue their studies elsewhere, because unfortunately, to go on to for certain level of studying, they need to fly out of Tasiilaq to go to Nuuk or even to Denmark. But we kind of had the chance to have a little glimpse of how it can be heartbreaking and difficult for these young people, and to leave their family and their community, and to sometimes even have an even harder decision, see if they're coming back or not. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of worries that I kind of felt that people had. That adds to everything else with the complex inequalities for access to education. Even though now we have more access to internet, but internet is not always very good back in Tasiilaq and in Tasiilaq. So that just adds up to all the other challenges. To everything that was just said on reflection on my part, I would like to come back on the importance of relationship of trust, consistency, respect, and I was personally very pleased to see how bonding, not only geographical bonding, but how people, even from people from other countries, would find in Tasiilaq family, friends that would become family. And that was something that came around a lot in our discussions. And we can just see how this community is so open, and I can really see how it can become a family to many people from outside. I also wanted to point out that what was said for similarities and differences, I was also very impressed by how the local community adapt or in the context in difficult environment. I'm going to say it in French. I'm sorry, my English is not. Can't find it correctly. C'est ingéniosité. So they're finding brilliant solutions to their problems in a very difficult situation. I would just think for everything that could be for just to get some food, to get whatever they need, electricity, water, housing. All that we saw that was also a lot of ingéniosité, I'm sorry, and to recognize the innovation that we could see there also in social relationships, the social initiatives that we saw. There was a lot of, I found a lot of things that we could learn from, even. I'm not really sure, I'm not well positioned to have a very solid idea on it, but I kind of have the feeling that we could learn a lot from them on a social intervention, especially with the youth. So I'll pass on the micro to Hans.
Yes, thank you. When I was a teacher, there has been a lot of students from East Greenland who needed to be heard, or giving a message to me that they want to be all heard. I was really interested to learn the language first. That way I can understand them more, what they're trying to say, and what the message they want to give. So I tried really hard. I tried my best, and learned the language. So when I was given this opportunity to go to East Greenland with you, I've been really thankful, because now I can understand more and more why they needed to be heard. And it has been very difficult to observe at first because in West Greenland, I never realized Greenland has such problems or systematic problems. So it opened my eyes. This trip is next.
Thank you. It was also eye-opening for me as well because the words I heard under the visiting the locals was we are closer to Iceland than Nuuk, and I was shocked. I was thinking that how can that possible? We are in the same country or land, but we don't. East Greenlanders doesn't feel that they have the same relationship with us from Nuuk and to those who lives in Iceland. They feel more they are connected to Iceland than connected to Nuuk, even though we are in the same municipality in our country. So it was very eye-opening for me. And the second was I grew up in a small town in northwest Greenland where there are only 800 people who lives there. Everybody say good morning or hi or goodbye or have a nice day to everyone they meet. But in East Greenland, you feel another kind of level of kindness and welcoming. The warmth from the people. Everyone was saying good morning or gura ngiyo, hi, hello. Even though we are the visitors, one man come and say to me that this is also your town as us, we are equally. So you are not visitors, you are the same, you have the same right as us. So it gives another kind of level of welcoming. So learning about these things that I will never experience if I didn't go this trip in cases 2025, it reminds me of the importance of dialogue, but also openness in academic community, but also to go to the local and talk with people. So it's about learning through informal conversations, but also shared experiences. So I feel motivated more to do actively in the future cooperations or collaborations, you call it. So thank you.
I think the motivation word and hopeful are two words that come very often when we talk to each other about the trip. And I think that it is true that it's very motivating to see that people are working very hard in every part of the world to better the lives of communities. And we see a lot of news going on around the world and the wars, and there's a lot of stuff happening. But to see that individually we're all making small changes towards our community, and I think that we have teachers from Alaska and then students from Finland and Canada and Greenland, and to see all of those people working together individually in their small communities, but still working towards the same goal. I think that that is very motivating and very hopeful for research, but just generally for better lives. And I think that stuck with a lot of us to see how, even though there's a lot of things happening in life, there's still kindness and generosity in people. And I think that's very, very humbling too. Personally, I participated in the summer school to better understand the relationship between institutions and peoples and systems of oppression, especially in a context of colonialism, to see how it affects today people. And I came in with my vision of Canada and the history of Canada, and to see how I learned in school a lot of different things, and my master is specifically on the relationship of justice system and people who are in the criminal sphere. And I think even though I thought to myself that I came in with no a priori, I don't know the word in English, no bias. I was like, oh no, I come in and I'm gonna learn everything. I still had that vision. And I think it was very challenging to come from my perspective of what is colonialism, what is indigenous identity, and to arrive in a country where I thought I could understand and realize throughout the trip that I really did not understand, and that the community's perception of what is oppression, what is colonialism, what is a control of institutions over individuals and how it affects people is very different from what I had in mind, and very different from what I had accessible in my textbooks and my research articles. And to see how different the perception of indigenous identity is throughout the world, I think it really challenged. And when I came back and I read my thesis again, and I was like, oh, there's so much things that are wrong in what I'm saying. And I think that it's necessary to not just work with our community, but also see how communities around the world work. That way we can be better for our own communities. And I think that really, really marked me and like really impacted me, is how wrong I was about a lot of things. And I think that, yeah, that will stay for a long time. And on that, I think that everybody spoke on the reflection. Yeah, I think we can go on the next one, which is the one word to describe the overall experience. And I'll leave the mic to Michiel.
Yes, thank you. So to sum up this first of all, this roundtable, we thought we could end up with one word to describe all overall experience. I have to say it was quite difficult to find just one word for everyone. So sometimes you'll see two words. So basically, you've probably heard it. I've heard it through everybody's what they say, témoignage, sorry. So it was eye-opening. It was reflective reflection. The human and the nature part of it was also important. I think we can feel it. Importance of connections and collective, humbling and poignant. And to that, I would like to add one word that Hans said several times at our last meeting that we didn't put on the slide, but it was the importance of and how it impacted us, the closeness we had between the group with the group. So I think those are the one words that, or several words I can describe our amazing experience to end it up. So to finish our presentation, we just wanted to say thank you to our mentors, to the coordinators, to everyone that participated to and helped for us students to have this amazing chance and amazing experience. I can't go on without having a little thought for Lena, who was the person that would receive us in her house, in her home every day for amazing meals that contributed to us to able to have those really amazing discussions we would have and try to understand and talk and exchange around all the topics and everything that we've seen and discovered during the day. And so thank you. It's a once life experience. And yes, thank you to everyone.
So we can open the discussion and Q&A part. You are all welcome, invited to ask questions, and any questions that you have, or if you want us to explore a little bit more about our experience, maybe I can. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to show our last slides, which is group pictures, and then I can stop the share, so that way we can all see each other, because I can't see anyone. So I'll just show you our group pictures that we took. So that one, the one on the top left is we were at the bar, so we really experienced local culture. And then when we took the last plane towards Iceland, and then the one down on the left is when we were in Tasiilaq. We were one day there, and it was very, very tiny and cozy, and we were very cold, but it was very warm in our hearts. So that was very nice. And I think we have different last pictures, and very welcome for the experience that we had. And I'll stop the sharing now, so we can open the floor for questions. If there's any comments, any questions that you have for us.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, you can talk.
Oh, okay, excellent.
You're the only one with the hand, so you can talk.
Congratulations for a wonderful presentation. Really, really impressive. And I was wondering, apologies to the others if this is too straightforward into this topic of inequalities. But in the very final contribution, you were mentioning the wonderful meals. And Italina and I, we just came back 2 weeks ago from a 6-week field trip to Greenland as well, where we actually met also Birger and Ann-Katrin at the airport. And anyway, and I was what I was struck with was this connection between inequality and food. And I was wondering if any of you would like to comment on that. Because reflecting on what we've seen and that was South Greenland, and comparing that with Finland, I was thinking that actually the access to indigenous food and indigenous food as an identity marker has become somewhat of a privilege for those who have either enough social capital or enough money capital to afford it. And those who don't, actually, they would rather end up in the supermarket and buy some chicken. And I was wondering if that's what the situation was that you saw there in Greenland. And I think because, as we have been talking about before, local food is such an important identity marker and also indicator of well-being.
Absolutely. I think that we did not explore that very much in our presentation, but I think that it struck us a lot was how we were prepared for not a lot of food, because they told us, well, the mentors told us that there was difficult access to food, and we were surprised by how luxurious our meals were. And I think that every students, we were struck by how much food we had. And I think it scared us a little bit, because we were worried that it might be food that we were taking from people, that it was limited. But I'll let my colleague explain explore a little bit more. But what I can say is that there are shipments that come to Tasiilaq. And the last shipment, if I don't mistaken, is November, beginning of November. And then there's no more food shipments until I think, is it April or beginning of spring where the ice melts? And I think that was a very big discussions that we had with multiple people over there about the food inequalities. Yeah, I can finish there, and my colleagues can add more maybe about the access to hunting and fishing.
I can maybe go and maybe if someone it was interesting. I'll actually say I'll go with two events that happened to me. The first day I arrived in Tasiilaq, I went to see what was at the little grocery store that was just down our house. And when I arrived there, I was impressed by everything that I could see that was available. But we were in summer, so the shipments would go and be there. And while I was going around, there was several women that came in, all having a big smile and very happy. And they all went to the little freezer at the back of the store and got a bag of what I think was maktak. I'm sorry if I don't say it properly, Franz, but maktak that we showed. Yeah, okay, good, thank you. And I was there with my little juice that I just had bought or wanted to buy. And they all look at me like, you don't know what you're missing. So I got to understand it afterwards. But we can see that when they have access to something they really want or they really appreciate, how it becomes a kind of something very special and they like to share. That's kind of the feeling I got. And so that's one thing that happened. And another story is that last week I was at Arctic Shipping Summit, and I met the captain of Le Commandant Charcot, which is a cruise ship that goes. I went to Tasiilaq and I got to have lunch with him. It just happened we were sitting at the same table. We talked about Tasiilaq, so it was really interesting. And he went there with his ship in 2023. And his ship has the characteristic that it's actually an icebreaker. And it's a kind of a high-end icebreaker. And he was telling me that when they came in April 2023, first time, they actually brought fresh food to the people, the community of Tasiilaq. The problem during wintertime, like Audrey-Jeanne was explaining, is that they don't have as much access to fresh food. So I thought it was interesting to see how an issue or a subject that was a part of our discussions on how we were a bit worried on all this tourism that's developing and the impact on the community and everything, it actually can eventually maybe be a part of a solution for accessing to fresh food during times of the year which is more difficult. And during the winter, all of the supply comes through helicopter, which is not that big to be able to feed a whole town. So that's something interesting we had to discuss. We also discussed about stockage as a stock, how to put all the food at a place and how that was managed too, and how it was difficult for the local people to find the money to be able to organize it and have the security to have fresh food during as long as possible. So those are all issues that actually we talked about. And the other thing too is to local food. There's a lot of hunters and fishermen. I'm maybe not the best person to talk about it, but we did find that it's something that's getting more and more precious. We were very lucky. So
if I can just add to what Muriel was saying, one of the hunters we talked to, Tobias, his wife was actually our host, so we got to eat some of the food he hunted, which we're very grateful for. He was telling us that as a kid, his family was nomadic hunters, and he only moved to Tasiilaq, I think, when he was a teenager. So I think because colonization occurred a little later in East Greenland, there's a stronger connection to the traditional hunting culture. And he did say in the past the youth had less interest in hunting, but now that's being revitalized, and he was training some young teenagers on the traditional hunting practices. And so, yeah, it was interesting to see how compared to Even Canada and other parts of Greenland, there was a stronger tie to the traditional hunting practices.
Maybe Bjorn, if you want to talk.
Apart from a big thank you from Marie Catherine and myself for excellent reflections and summing up, I just wanted to say, because Audrey, you mentioned that we were surprised of the richness of the food we gave, and actually Jenica came with part of the explanation, because what we got was because our host there was affiliated with this hunter who provided us with both fish and meat and all kinds of good stuff. So, and that sort of highlights what several of you have said, that the connection to traditional hunting and people still doing the hunting and providing for food is extremely important. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else want to add anything? Well, if you're ever looking for a place to travel, Greenland is an amazing coast. I think, everything we lost walking up and down, I think we gained by eating very much. So, yeah. Marjolaine, you want to...
Moi, je parle français. Je ne sais pas si la traduction... Oui, c'est correct. Je voulais vous remercier de l'invitation. Je suis contente de voir la réalité de d'autres peuples autochtones. Moi, je suis Inou. Je suis une femme Inou. Je vis une communauté à l'est du Québec. Ça m'inspire parce que aujourd'hui et demain, la nation Inou et la nation Naskapi se rencontrent pour discuter du déclin du caribou ici au Québec. Il y a des aînés qui se rencontrent, des chasseurs qui se rencontrent, des jeunes et des adultes. Il y a des femmes aussi qui sont en train de discuter entre eux puis de prendre position pour réduire le recrutement du caribou. Les aînés sont inquiets que les jeunes, les générations suivantes ne puissent plus un jour goûter au caribou ou ne puissent plus continuer de pratiquer leur savoir traditionnel si le caribou n'existe plus. Fait que c'est ce que je tenais à vous partager. La rencontre se fait ici à Maliotenam, dans notre communauté. Merci beaucoup de m'avoir invité. C'est très inspirant. J'avais l'impression d'avoir voyagé à 1 heure de temps.
Je vais répondre en français, juste parfait. Mais je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de liens qui peuvent être faits entre ce qui se passe, mettons la rencontre qui va être faite avec les Inuits, les Naskapi par rapport au caribou, puis ce qu'on a discuté au Groenland, notamment par rapport au quota. Je sais qu'au Groenland, il y avait beaucoup d'enjeux au niveau du quota de pêche des phoques. C'était quelque chose qui revenait beaucoup par rapport à la balance entre la chasse traditionnelle qui est faite de manière sustainable, je veux pas
Durable.
Merci, I'm lost in my language. Puis les règlements gouvernementaux qui essayent de... Cette balance entre la chasse traditionnelle puis les règlements gouvernementaux, ça crée beaucoup d'enjeux au niveau des chasseurs, au niveau aussi de l'économie locale. Puis je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de liens qui peuvent être faits entre ce qui se passe au Groenland, ce qui se passe avec les Inuits, les Naskapi. Donc, merci beaucoup pour votre intervention.
Plaisir, merci.
Do we have other questions?
Hi, thanks so much for a really wonderful presentation, and I love the pictures too. You in your discussion with locals, you talked about inequalities, and you've brought up some of the issues that came up, but I just wanted to ask, were there any especially surprising elements? And also, did you notice any differences between the issues that the different generations were bringing up?
Maybe I can let one of my colleagues talk about that, because I talked a lot. I don't want to take all the space.
Yeah, I can take this question. So I think the main thing we noticed between the different generations was first employment. It was really difficult, especially for the youth, to find work. And then the education system in Tasiilaq only grows up to grade 10. So if they wanted to finish high school, they had to leave to Nuuk and or Denmark. And if they wanted post-secondary, so leaving at such a young age from your community is a huge decision. I know I lived in Quebec for 3 months in high school and it was absolutely terrifying. So I can't imagine leaving home for 2 years at that age. And a lot of them also go to Denmark for university or for high school. So that's so far away from home and it's so expensive to travel back and forth. And then, yeah, there's a lack of job opportunities, so some of them aren't able to return to the community, even though that's where their home is, their family is, and they want to. And then for me, something I found really surprising, like I had known about some of the challenges like suicide and alcoholism, but it was mentioned that the rate of sexual abuse in East Greenland was significantly higher than other parts of Greenland, which was both shocking and very sad. And I think, yeah, a lot of the systemic issues in East Greenland probably contribute to that, but that was something that shocked me for sure. I don't know if anyone wants to add to that.
I think I can add something, and thank you, Tunika. I think you brought up the things pretty well. Maybe something that, I don't know, struck me or stayed with me was that we heard from the local principal at the school that they have, first of all, difficulties at finding people to work at the school as teachers, and that a lot of teachers come from outside of Greenland and actually outside from Denmark as well. So then they face the language barrier and the cultural barrier when people come there without any knowledge or like understanding of the culture and the ways, and also the understanding of the language. I remember the principal saying that they found like creative ways of communicating, but then what I thought was that a lot of time goes to finding ways to communicate with the kids without a same language, and then maybe the teachings are then left aside. And something connected to that was that there was sort of in the discussion about schools and education, sort of brought up that there's not that much education that considers culture or cultural practices, traditions. They are not really translated into the education system, and sort of we got the experience or hearing that, oh, it's not possible to implement traditional knowledge, traditional practices into the education. But then we also heard that actually there is not such a thing that would be preventing the schools to implement the practices the way they want to, but then there is sort of lack of wanting to do that. Like they could have the opportunities of going out berry picking and learning more about hunting, but it seems like that is not happening, and the culture is not in that sense embedded into the education system. Thank you.
Maybe I can add on that, because that also it shocked me a little bit, because I grew up in an indigenous community up north of Quebec, and I know that every year we had Cree culture weeks. We went to the woods, and there was the culture was embedded in the education system, and I was surprised to see how much programs there were in place for young people in Tasiilaq, but how little connected to each other they were, and how much there were programs for let's say hunting, or there were programs for young, but at the same time there was very little opportunity but for adults, but also there was a lot of contrast. I don't know how to say it properly, but there was this lack of opportunity for people in terms of employment, but at the same time, there was there were not enough formed professional that could work. So it was this kind of ironic contrast where there is a lot of things put in place, but at the same time, a lot of things don't work and there's not a lot of, so even though the community really wants to, and there's a lot of programs put in place for youth, when they arrive in the workplace, there's a lot of lacking professional to work in the workplace. So there's this contrast really marked me. It was not the best English version I could, but yeah.
I have something to add as well. They are talking about a lot of issues, about social issues, but there have been a psychologist, I think, what you call, if I'm wrong, I hope you understand it, but there was one in the city or town, city, but only one in a place where there is a lot of issues. So now, if I don't remember wrong, there are no one in the city. To get one, they have to have one from Nuuk. So there you can already hear an inequality. There are some young people who is good picture for the others, because we know one, I know Danaik, who is helping the others even though she is young woman, but she is helping the others and making a theater group with where they perform their issues to others. So they have a lot of projects. So like that, they are necessary for the city. Like one, like Aino Danai, who means a lot to other and for the society. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. John, did you have a question or anything to add?
I did raise my hand accidentally, but that's probably because I'm very moved by these testimonies and deep felt experiences. I'm sitting in Northeast Iceland, in the basement of our house where Lee Husky has lived for 2 weeks once, I'm moved by everything, including the mention of the connection between East Greenland and Iceland. We feel it very strongly. It's even for me in Northeast Iceland, it's by way of identification, having access to fresh kill, fresh fish, fresh fowl, etc., fresh foods, but also Norland air flies. I know there's a distance between Nuuk and East Greenland, and often maybe not enough services from Nuuk, even though it's the same municipality. But I know that Iceland is very important aspect, plays an important role in human security there. And so emergency rescue comes from Akureyri to Kortormiet and also to Kulusuk, and we also they fresh Icelandic vegetables, etc. But more importantly, there's just regular flights for people to come, and the people in Scoresbysund, they use the Akureyri hospital, my hospital also. So this is very important. But I have a question, and that is just as we feel that we sort of share a bit of a map with the East Greenland here in North Iceland, where from the flights are coming and going. Also on our map is, by virtue of a relationship between Iceland, Faroe Islands, and East Greenland, there is in one of the towns that you did not visit, there is an economic activity that is very different from which is not the other towns, and you didn't go there. I wondered if you talked about it. It's in Kumiet. It's a fish factory. Do you know if that is of significance and considered of significance for the region?
I can answer it briefly. Thank you for the question. When we visit the fish factory in Tasiilaq, they mentioned that before the fish factory, the new one in Tasiilaq, it's opens, they used to fish and go to Gummiut for sell it. So that means a lot to it for the whole East Greenland.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you think about economic, it also kind of part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. You know, I just wanted to follow up on it, just to provide something. I was just thinking, because you're looking at complicated inequalities, is that Nuuk is in the same municipality, and Nuuk is also the capital of the self-government, and it pretty much decides on the fisheries quota. So that in a way, when Nuuk the Nuuk Center has been reduced in the quota provided to Arctic prime fisheries in South Greenland, then this factory suffers. So I just wanted to mention this. This is something that is on our map here when we are looking at from Iceland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the contribution. Was there anybody else? Björn?
Yeah, well, just and thank you for raising the discussion about the fisheries. As Hansine mentioned, there's a new factory recently opened in East Greenland, in Tasiilaq, and the problem with the factory in Gummiut has been that it meant that fishermen from Tasiilaq, for instance, had to go by the boat quite a long way to sell their fish. Now it's more closer, and it has already had an impact in Tasiilaq, and I guess it's hard to say which impact it will have in the factory in Gummiut. But there are several fisheries now, and I think the quotas has been raised for the local fishermen, and activity has risen. Thank you.
I can add a little bit more to that. Before the fish factory opens, it was a hunting place where most of the hunters were hunter. But when we visit the fish factory, the new one, the man who told about the fish factory mentioned that now more of hunters are doing fishing more because the opportunity of the fish factory. Because they used to be hunters, but now the opportunity of the economic for fishing, it's now up in the sea. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see that we're approaching the end of our presentation. Maybe Karen, if there's any more questions, can take the last one. Muriel?
Wait, I would just like maybe to say, not maybe, I want to say a special thank you to Marie-Catherine and Biwa for having us and giving us this amazing opportunity. So I wanted to finish on this note. Thank you again.
And just before we sign off for the meeting, because I know we're very close to time, Gerard was here, but he's in Nunavut, so he had to leave a little bit early, but he sends his regards. And a couple more announcements. The recording from today's event will soon be ready, so you can share it with your colleagues who weren't able to join. We're happy to announce that the next roundtable will be on February 5th, organized by Pamela Colombo, on the topic of ongoing Indigenous research on Indian residential schools in Canada. And before I sign off, as your girl's got a hand up.
Anymore? Yes. We'll also say thank you very much for your presentation. It has been very bigger than I thought you will come. So it's not only on academics, but also what you have been feeling and your intellectual understanding of what you have been through. Thank you very much.
And thank you to the students for organizing and hosting today's session. It was truly wonderful. And obviously to everyone else who's been involved in the Cases school. And aside from the event, the next roundtable on February 5th, stay tuned in the new year for some more announcements on future events. So thank you so much, everybody.